Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One. You have entered the center. My apologies for the technical glitch. Days. Oh man. Let's see who's in the house here on the YouTube side, and let's get started, because I don't plan to be here all night. First of all, y'all can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. BB Fody, brother, you got ripped off. BB Fody to Sister Fonessa. BB Fody, Straight Black Pride to Straight Black Saw. Greetings to Sister Neff, and a BB Fody to Sister Najee. Good to see you, sister. All the brothers out here who have reproduced, happy Father's Day to all the brothers that have produced work in our community, have fathered ideas, movements, and advanced the cause of liberation. Happy Father's Day to you all as well, because you are fathering our liberation, and we don't have enough of that, to be honest. So, first thing, hold on. Let me get myself together. Let me get myself together here. First thing I want to do, or the first thing I want to bring up, actually, before we get started, is, I got to do that. The way this has to be done is irritating. Let's see if I can do this. This Saturday, the 22nd, ASCM, which is the Anti-Sexualization of Children movement, is having their, in essence, grand opening. It is an educational nonprofit organization headed by some members of SBPM, and that's going to be available on Zoom. So what I'm going to do with that is I am going to add that to the, that just looks horrible. I'm going to add that to the community tab and take that from there. So I'm gonna put that in the community tab. I'm also posting it on Instagram, and so then you have that information. But if you are a parent, you are a teacher, you are a concerned citizen, that's definitely something you want to check out and look into, because the things that our children are learning in school are not benefiting them. Yeah, just put it like that. B48 to Brother Kevin. Also, 29th, I can bring this up. Brother Genie is having, in Frida Plaza, he's having his rally against international Zionism. This is something. It's just, at this point, something's necessary. The time is now, and so he's doing that. That'll be up on Instagram as well. And as it says along the bottom, for those who are not on Instagram, don't follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1. So it'll be on there. It'll be on Twitter. Also, he has his every Wednesday, he has his JATP program on Twitter or X. I think you look it up as JAT Problem, and you'll see it. He has a live stream every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. So that's where you'll be able to find Brother JD's broadcast. He's doing something a little different from what he has been doing historically, and for those who haven't been following them and you're trying to figure out what's going on, read the Irritated Genie book by Baba Jacob Carruthers. You read the Irritated Genie book by Baba Jacob Carruthers, you'll understand what the brother is doing. Before they straight black proud, the brother Eshu Ogun. So I think that's all the announcements I have. So it's so weird. Y'all know I just come up with an idea maybe a day, 2 at the most, before I talk about something. And for whatever reason, in the middle of the week, I was just like, you know what? Okay, no, that's what it was. Excuse me. Sometime this week, the mayor of DC, I saw a clip. I don't know when she said it. I don't know if it was this year, last year. I don't know. And basically announced that DC is the gayest city in America. Something to that effect. And then I said, you know what? I need to do a show on the homophile assault on the black world. And here's the thing, right? People that don't live in DC but are of a certain age remember DC as the chocolate city. Like, that was a nickname. I'm not sure who named it or whatever. I think it came about in the late 60s, early 70s. But excuse me, DC was known as the chocolate city. And at one point, it was 85% black, right? Yeah, excuse me for a quick second. 85% black. Now DC is about 45% black. And many of the historically black areas have been taken over. Before they to a real black gentleman. Many of the historically black areas of DC have been taken over by homophiles. As an example, if you come to DC and you say, hey, show me where Howard University is. I'm like, okay, cool. Go up to Georgia Avenue Northwest, and I'll tell you, this area used to be known as Nile Valley. And you'd be like, Nile Valley, that's interesting. What does that mean? Nile Valley, the place where the knowledge and wisdom first started, right? It's taken from Supreme Wisdom Lessons of the Nation of Islam through the 5%. That area was known as an area, as basically the blackest part of DC. Like, if you want to know who was doing something black, something pro-black, you come to Georgia Avenue. There used to be a boatload of bookstores and black-owned shops there, surrounding Howard University, right? And then black people lived in the neighborhoods off of Georgia Avenue. Before they to K fight, right? So now when you come to DC and you say, take me to Howard University, I'm like, okay. Georgia Avenue still has black owned shops, right? Not as many, but they still have some. But the surrounding neighborhood is not only probably, and from what I can tell, probably 80% European, but 80% of that 80% are homophiles, proudly rocking rainbow flags on their porches and just all over their house, right? So I say that to say that the gentrification of DC was not just a gentrification of Europeans moving into an area that used to be primarily black, but it was a homophile invasion under the auspices of gentrification. You see what I'm saying? And so that's just an example of what it looks like in a local area. And I happen to be able to see it live and in person, unfortunately, right? And what invariably happens when you see this type of attack, some black person that's put in charge is leading the charge in homophilia. And they always claim that the person is not a homophile, but all they doing is promoting homophilia. So come on now, you advocate for what you are. I always say that, like, you can't fool me, and you can lie to yourself. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go back in time to Mr. Obama. We're gonna look at how he spearheaded in the modern context the homophile attack on the black world, and then we're gonna bring it back around to DC to wrap it up. And I plan to do this in an hour and 30 minutes. So that's the plan. That's the goal, right? All right. Now, let us get started with our first article. And this is just a reminder, because all this was, it's been a while. First article, Washington Free Beacon. And I don't know who did this picture, right? This looks like some AI stuff. Like, this is crazy. I don't know if y'all see that. Like, that's crazy. But I thought it was funny because it looks so crazy. It says, President Obama repeatedly fantasized about making love to men. Biographers suggest Obama's presidency was even more historic than previously known. Again, we've talked about this before. We're just reiterating. It says, in an interview with the Tablet magazine, Barack Obama biographer David Garrow discussed a letter the former president wrote to a college girlfriend in which he repeatedly fantasized about making love to men. Now, we're going to stop right there. I'm just going to ask the brothers in the chat. If your homeboy, like yes, you know what I'm saying, your brother, if he said, hey fam, look man, gotta tell you something, and you're like, all right man, we fam, you can tell me anything, I don't care what it is, you know what I'm saying, just keep it a buck, you know what I'm saying, and then he tell you what Obama just said, but then he says, but ain't no homo. Or he says no Diddy. Y'all tell me in the chat, what's your response? I'm gonna be honest. My response is gonna be Ice-T's response in his TV show when they were investigating the crime, and the dude said something about his interaction with other men, and Ice-T said in the show, he just looked at the dude with a straight face and said, dude, you're gay. That's what I was saying. That's what's gonna be my reaction. You know what I'm saying? We used to be cool. You told me this information that Obama said. I could say, hey homie, I think you're gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, what other response is there to that? But look, let them tell it. Obama's not gay. Whatever. Anyway, now, says Obama was frequently criticized for surrounding himself with male aides at the White House. The New York Times reported in 2009 on the nagging concern within the Obama administration that the president and his closest advisors form a boys' club, and that he is frequently in the company of only men, not just when playing sports, but also when making big decisions. Then says what it means, Obama will go down in history as America's first mixed race president. Garrow's comments suggest his presidency may have been even more historic than previously known. Then it says, love is love, right? Now, we're going to go. This is, now look at this, right? This is under Pride on Yahoo News. Think about that. Under the Pride section of Yahoo News. Now, you know, I ain't bringing it up, but we all remember Time Magazine. What if Time Magazine tell us? It says the first gay president with a rainbow halo over his head. And we all looked at that and, you know, we thought whatever we thought. Like we didn't take it literally. And whatever. Now, it says a letter written by former President Barack Obama to a woman he dated in college is giving some new insight on his thoughts about gender and sexuality. Obama dated Alex McNear during his time at Occidental College in Los Angeles, and the two reportedly reconnected not long after they broke up in 1981. So this is way back in the day, and it's hard for us to remember. You know, it was a different environment in 1980. I was a little kid. That's a 1981 is a different world, even on the West Coast. And on the West Coast, you would be more likely to be accepted in that with that behavior, right? Just now. A year later, in November 1982, Obama wrote McNear a letter that is now owned by Emory University. Wonder how that happened. Although they have prohibited photography of it, which is wild when you think about it. Why? Harvey Clare transcribed it by hand to send it to historian and Obama photographer David Garrett. In regards to homosexuality, this is Obama's quote. In regards to homosexuality, I must say that I believe this is an attempt to remove myself from the present, a refusal perhaps to perpetuate the endless farce of earthly life. Obama reportedly wrote, according to a copy of the transcript. You see, this is Mr. Obama. I make love to men daily, but in the imagination. Obama, who was 21 at the time the letter was written, also reportedly mused on gender, saying that his mind is androgynous to a great extent. He said, I hope to make it more so until I can think in terms of people, not women as opposed to men, but in returning to the body, I see that I have been made a man, and physically in life, I choose to accept that contingency. Is this microphone on? Are y'all seeing this? I choose to accept that contingency. What are you saying, Mr. Obama? You know what I'm saying? Hey, bruh, the flowery language that he uses here is crazy. Now, mind you, he's 21 years old, but he's already a politician while he's writing this. He says Garrett himself seemed unfazed by these remarks when asked for comment, telling the Post that it's public record that a vast majority of people have fantasies. All right, let's stop right there. That is greetings to Miss Brumfield. That's not the question about people having fantasies. This man at 21 years old, in the prime where your testosterone is pumping and you are easily aroused, let us say, right? All the brothers in here understand what I'm talking about. You're 21 years old, easily aroused, right? I mean, summertime now, it's sundress season. You could hurt your neck and crash your car depending on where you live. And while many brothers are looking forward to sundress season, he's fantasizing about other men and accepting the contingency that he's a man. I mean, this is like the most sophisticated gayness that I've heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, the world, what are you saying, bro? But the general public already has loud opinions, with conservatives and blue checks screaming about Obama being fake and gay. I haven't heard nobody really screaming like that, but maybe I'm tripping. While another theory suggests Barack Obama being a fake bisexual to attract artsy girls in college. Okay. So, now, that is what Mr. Obama was, that's where he was as a young man, right? This is documented historical evidence, but for some weird reason, you can't take a picture of the documented historical evidence. So, letter he wrote to his girlfriend at the time. It actually, and I covered more of this in an earlier show, and it was more explicit, right? Like it was more detail in that. He was talking about older men and all this stuff. Now, I only bring that up because I want to show what that mentality grew into as he became an older man and he began to implement policy, right? Because these decisions and these ideas have consequences when people take the reins of power. Now, years later, because again, we're talking about the homophile assault on the black world. Years later, what does Mr. Obama do? Obama lectures Kenyan president on gay rights. Remember what I said? You advocate for what you are, right? Now, he's not just advocating. He is going around the world telling other black people, well, telling actual black people, you need to accept gayness. Now, think about it. His father was from Kenya. Now, his father might have been a coon. That's how he got here. But apparently he wasn't no homosexual, as far as we know. But Obama goes back to Kenya, and he doesn't go back to say, I'm going to give you an aid package to help you economically. I'm going to open up, we're going to have a exclusive trade deal, and I'm going to buy some of your raw material, and I'm going to give you some things that you don't have access to. He doesn't say, I'm going to give you medical technology to improve medicine in Kenya. He doesn't say, I'm going to send the Army Corps of Engineers to help with the Kenyan infrastructure, so your infrastructure is better, to build some dams or, something like that, or improve roads or your airport or whatever. He says, you're going to go over here, you're going to be gay. That's basically what he says. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sick of y'all not being gay. Now, as we read this article, remember what we talked about with Kenya recently, right? Let's go to the article. Again, this is years ago. This is when he's still president. President Barack Obama on Saturday lectured Kenya President Uhuru Kenyatta about his country's gay rights rate. What did they say? They didn't say he asked him about it. They didn't say he wanted to talk about it. He didn't say, let's discuss this issue. No, they said that he lectured. Think about this. This man's a whole president of his own country. You're going to come over there to his country and lecture him about some homophiles with all the other stuff they got going on. But I digress. When you start treating people differently, not because of any harm they're doing to anybody, but because they are different, that's the path whereby freedoms begin to erode, Obama said in a joint press conference with the Kenyan leader in Nairobi. Now let's stop right here. I'm going to try not to be vulgar. but those unnatural acts between men, somebody is getting hurt. That's all. Okay. That's all I can say. Try not to get banned today. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's just been too much rainbow stuff happening in DC. I'm irritated by it. I chose not to even go out the last weekend because they was, rainbowing it up and parading and blocking off half the city. I've had enough. All right? It just making my head hurt. This is now JC Diddy Diaries. So now, the Kenyan law, activity between men is illegal and punishable with a maximum imprisonment of 14 years. Many Kenyan leaders had encouraged Obama not to discuss gay rights on his first trip to the country as president. So even the people who, how you have people that's kind of soft, and they're like, hey man, look, we like you. You know what I'm saying? We're glad to have you come back, son of a Kenyan, and we respect you. Can you please leave that gay stuff in America? Please. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing he does is say, absolutely not. That's what I came here for. Talk about gay. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is what we got to understand. The homophile is like rude. Ain't no halfway with it. You going to accept all of it. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, way back in the day, the whole thing was gay marriage. Now we up to transgenderism. Like, remember, that wasn't even, nobody was even talking about that stuff. With the whole marriage thing. And people like, well, like the Christian people were like, marriage is between man and woman. Now, why people, had to come to that with a religious angle instead of just looking at simple biology and say, hey, the way you get electricity is you got to plug this into the socket. You know what I'm saying? They make it so everyone can easily understand, as Malcolm X would say. Right? Now, but Obama equated legalized discrimination of gays to legalize racism in America. Now let's stop right here. Years ago, Brother Jenny saw a shirt and he put it up on his Born Horizon. When I say years ago, it's 2014. It's at least a decade ago, probably more like 12, 13 years ago. And it was two homophiles wearing a shirt, and the shirt said, gay, it's the new black. Right? It was like, yo, what in the... They've been equating black with gay since. And Obama does that same thing right here, saying, in essence, these laws is homophilia, which is, again, an activity, behavior, and a mindset. It's not a issue of you know what I'm saying? You don't choose to be black. Maybe in the spiritual realm you choose to be black. I'm sure I chose to come back African again. But y'all understand what I'm saying. But now he says, and when the government gets in the habit of treating people differently, those habits can spread. As an African American, I am painfully aware what happens when people are treated differently under the law. I know I keep stopping, but that's the lie. You don't know. You didn't grow up here. You didn't grow up at the time where the racism was real. You had white grandparents. They had money. You're a liar. You don't know. You didn't live that life. You wasn't built for that. You know what I'm saying? Because if so, you'd be a more thorough dude. Respectfully, Mr. President. Like those who had to go through it right? That know what racism really is. Don't have to sit around and think. Like when a cop, you see a cop lights behind you, like you start cussing to yourself because you know wrong cop might be you and him, right? Obama ain't never. Have you ever heard? Have any of us ever heard or read anything about him talking like that? That was his reality? Nah, he's writing letters talking about he fantasized about men. He ain't writing no letter say, "Hey, I got to break up with you because I realize I'm selling out my race and I want to be black." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. That wasn't his discussion at 18, 19 years old. His discussion was homophilia. Anyway, says Kenyatta, however, said that while the U.S. and Kenya share many common values and goals, gay rights is not one of them. Now, I had never thought of it because I had never been a fan of Mr. Kenyatta, but is this the reason why Mr. Kenyatta is not the president and the current president who is willing to bow down and bend over is the president? I'm gonna have to research that and see. I don't know. It says that the fact of the matter is Kenya and the U.S. share so many common values: common love for democracy, entrepreneurship, value for families. These are some things we share. But there are some things that we must admit we don't share. Our culture, our societies don't accept. Right? That's what Mr. Kenyatta said. And what are those things? Well, Mr. Kenyatta basically told him the same thing that basically told him the same thing that Mr. Mugabe, which is we're not gay. Right? So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to play a clip from that time frame so we can remember how that went between Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Obama. Right, so press the pause button, and here we go.
Today, President Obama held talks with Ethiopia's leaders on counterterrorism, human rights, and regional security. He's the first sitting American president to visit the East African nation. Obama wrapped up a two-day trip to Kenya Sunday, urging the homeland of his father to root out corruption, treat women and minorities as equals, and to protect the rights of homosexuals.
I've been consistent all across Africa on this. I believe in the principle of treating people equally under the law, and that they are deserving of equal protection under the law, and that the state should not discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation.
But in a tense exchange, Kenya's president rejected Obama's message on gay rights, saying it was one value that Christian Kenya does not share with the United States.
The fact of the matter is that Kenya and the United States, we share so many values, but there are some things that we must admit we don't share. Our culture, our societies don't accept. This is why I repeatedly say that for Kenyans today, the issue of gay rights is really a non-issue.
In Kenya, homosexual relations carries a punishment of imprisonment. In this overwhelmingly Christian nation, many residents shrugged off the U.S. president's lecture on gay rights.
Of course, the way President Obama talked about gayism and what have you, lesbianism, or transgender, whatever, according to him, we took him as an American. He was answering like an American. He was for, but according to our African culture, the Christian beliefs, we say no.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
My bad. So what did the brother say? He said, look, when he started talking that homo stuff, we took him as an American, which means we translate that is like we took him as a white dude. You know, when he started talking that homo stuff, we took him as a white dude, and we just disregarded that whole discussion. Yeah, I realized I was, yeah, you know. So that was where we were. What was that? 8 years ago, 9 years ago, right? Obama went over there to push homophilia. The Kenyans were like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Just straight up, just like, nah. You know, like even Mr. Kenyatta's like, yeah, nah. I mean, you know, we some of this other stuff we cool with, but you know, when he came away talking about that, we like, nah, bro, no sir, 9. You know what I'm saying? La. You know, it's all the ways to say no in different languages. And this was deep. Obama, he admitted, he said, I've said this all across Africa. Right? He basically saying, look, all y'all black people in Africa, all y'all gonna bow down to the rainbow. Right? And the people, including some of the leadership, like, look, we give credit when it's due and we criticize when it's due. They were like, yeah, we heard him talking about that, but we just disregarded all of that, man. You know, it was good to see him, but if this what he coming over here for, he ain't got to come back. You know what I'm saying? We'll have to see you. If this is what you talking about, we got to see you no more, fam. We good. We appreciate you though. So let's finish up the article real quick. Says it is very difficult for us to be able to impose on people that which they themselves do not accept. This is why I repeatedly say for Kenyans today, the quote unquote gay rights issue is a non-issue. We want to focus on other areas. What's the key part of that he said? He said to impose on people. So Mr. Kenyatta was aware that this was an imposition back then, and Mr. Obama was spearheading the imposition of homophilia in Africa at that time. So we appreciate that. And to be honest, is there anything else that's relevant in this discussion? No, there's nothing else relevant in this article. So we're gonna bypass this article and we're gonna go to the next one. What does this say? Again, this is NBC News. It's NBC News. There's Mr. President there, former president, says Obama's quiet mission to export gay rights overseas. Again, his mission to export gay rights overseas. Now, here's a question we never asked. Usually people are sent on missions, right? And so if Mr. Obama had a mission to export gay rights, who sent him on the mission? We don't think about that part, do we? Right? But we gonna get to it. So let's read this article. It says, while the world was watching America's gay rights transformation under Mr. Obama, because he was the president, the Obama administration was pursuing a quieter mission to export homophilia abroad. Because again, freedoms, you know, these words like freedom and all that. Let's think about it. You want to export, quote unquote, these freedoms. But this is the same person that when black people were being shot down like dogs, he wrote a bill to protect the police, right? The police. But he talking about freedom somewhere else. Brother Real Black Gentleman said, export gay rights, not export high technology. I'm just saying, NBC stays short in black people intelligence. Hey, bruh. But again, you right and exact. But they're able to do it because they have people who look like us, even if they ain't us. What did Kendrick Lamar say about them not being us? Sister Najee, help me out with that song. I know that's one of your favorites. You know what I'm saying? They not like us. Is that the title? More appropriately, it's like they ain't us. Anyway, while the world was watching Obama's gay rights transformation, oh man, that Freudian slip. Let's read that again. While the world was watching America's gay rights transformation, the Obama administration was pursuing a quieter mission to export the same ideology to places like sub-Saharan Africa, that means black, that's where they started, Latin America, and Eastern Europe. Now, the Eastern Europe thing is interesting because what we've seen is that Russia, they not like us. No, they are not. Thank you, sister. Russia has been like, you know what? This is a problem. So now Russia's taking a stand. So it's interesting that, they export into the areas around Russia, Eastern Europe. Says the U.S. has deployed its diplomats and I'm having a tongue problem today, and spent tens of millions of dollars to try to block anti-gay laws, punish countries that enacted them, which is only the black countries, and tie financial assistance to gayness. It has a mission animated in part by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's declaration that gay rights are human rights. Let's stop right there. How many people remember when I said, and I broke down the person who came up with the term human rights and I showed them and everything, when I said that human rights are just gay rights? That's just a code term for gay rights. But Hillary Clinton just kind of said the same thing, except she inverted it. So she inverted it in a way to make it acceptable. But if you realize that when they say human rights, they're just talking about gay, they're not talking about you, right? They're not talking about your freedom, not talking none of that stuff. It just means gay, right? You look at it different. Because think about it, all right? Here's an example. Right now, at this moment, unless they took a break, Israel is killing some Palestinians. And they pretty much seem to be rotating in shifts. So the idea that they're not killing them right now, I know over there it's probably like 2:00 in the morning on a Sunday. Anyway, they still killing somebody. Those people have no human rights. Because the first human right you gotta have, you gotta be able to live. If human rights was human rights and the way we think about them, not gay rights. Is the United States doing anything to stop their number one ally in the quote unquote Middle East from killing those people and enforcing any form of human rights? Absolutely not. Are the Israelis violating men, women, and children? Not their rights, but violating their bodies in a sexual manner? Has that been documented? Absolutely. So America is protecting Israel's human rights, which is their gay rights. But we don't look at it that way, do we? You see what I'm saying? So sometimes you got to decode the language of the matrix. And what's interesting is that it says that Hillary Clinton is spearheading this. To understand why that's the case, I suggest getting Brother Jenny's Pizzagate lecture, and then to make it very clear. I don't have time to get into it today. Hillary Clinton is as despicable in her behavior as her husband. And we know, He's been public with his stuff. His stuff been out there since before he became president, weirdly enough. Now, let's go down. Some more says, yet the U.S. encountered occasional backlash, including from some rights groups that say public pressure by the West made things worse. Interesting. Susan Rice says, I walked into a very backward environment in 2009. In an Associated Press interview, Rice said both the UN and US had avoided taking on the issue. So Susan Rice, man, I should have known. She looked kind of, Susan Rice, is she a mulatto? Somebody check that out for me. She argued that despite a cascade of pressing global crises, the White House had tried to deal with the urgent and deal with the important, even if the important is, some might say, optional. It's important. So this is, see, there we go. This, I'm glad I got this picture up. This is Susan Rice, and where's she at? She at the Human Rights Campaign. And what is she talking about? How to advance rainbow rights. Because that's all the Human Rights Campaign is rainbow rights, right? We covered that before. Now it says in its latest push to use dollars as leverage, the Obama administration announced Wednesday is enacting a rule prohibiting, is this USAID? U.S. Agency for International Development. Yeah, USAID contracts from going to groups that quote unquote discriminate in delivery of services. That means a clinic, food program, or shelter can't refuse services to a gay person. Yet even in countries where legal protections have improved, like Brazil, Brazil is extremely gay, and Argentina, it's difficult to draw a straight line between the U.S. advocacy and progress. And in Latin America, those changes have been accompanied by allegedly increasing violence against LGBT. Now I'm gonna stop right there. I don't know what's going on in Latin America. I'm not gonna sit up here and try to tell you no lies that I do. But here's one thing I know. Brazil police have been murdering black people for years now. Any discussion about that? Any discussion about the rights of black Brazilians not to get shot down like dogs? Nope. But you can be gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is plain and simple, right? Now it says, in Uganda, a court eventually invalidated an anti-gay law that the U.S. had emphatically opposed. See, so again, this is years ago, 10 years ago, Uganda has been going back and forth in this. It says, but in Gambia, quote-unquote anti-gay rhetoric has escalated despite a U.S. decision to revoke the country's preferential trade status following an LGBTQ crackdown. The growing focus on gay rights and diplomacy mirrored the shift in attitudes in the U.S. towards LGBTQ people, illustrated by seismic changes in gay marriage and gays serving openly in the military. As with its domestic efforts, the Obama administration faced objections from social conservatives and some religious groups at home and abroad who called it inappropriate use of government to infringe on others' cultural beliefs. Now, this is crazy. I don't even see in these conservatives anymore. I mean, maybe they're still around. I don't know. But it's crazy that conservatives, people that black people wouldn't like, were the ones sitting around saying, yo, why y'all pressing these African people and these Christians? Or because usually they'll say, well, these Christians around the world with this stuff. Like, what's really going on, right? And brother, you didn't even remind me that I didn't turn my music off, but whatever. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take another look back at Mr. Obama and another situation that he found greatly gratifying. That's all I'm going to say. Watch this clip real quick.
Chance to do the Rose Garden celebration of the court decision around same-sex marriage. I did not have a chance to comment on how good the White House looked in rainbow colors. That made it a really good week. To see people gathered in an evening outside on a beautiful summer night, and to feel whole and to feel accepted, and to feel that they had a right to love, that was pretty cool. That was a good thing.
No regrets on it.
That was a good thing. And the only bad part about it was I couldn't go out and peek at it myself, because then I would have had to clear out all the people, or Secret Service would have. So I could only reflect on it from a television screen. That's a moment worth savoring.
Now, I want y'all to how many, all right, I'm talking brothers and sisters. How many, yeah, anybody, y'all can answer. How many brothers do y'all know that's straight that celebrated the White House being painted in rainbow colors and said, that's a moment to savor? That's all I'm asking. You know what I'm saying? He's like, man, I'm just disappointed I couldn't see it in person. I couldn't go outside. Like, look, listen. Sometimes, man, we just have to take people at their word. Sometimes they be telling us stuff, and we just don't be listening to what they saying. We just like, come on, man. Brother Saw say he might as well just come out the closet right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what to say to that. I saw that clip. I remember when he said it, but when I watched it again, I was like, yeah, I get a different vibe. Maybe my eyes wasn't fully open, right? So, I mean, we see what it is. We don't have to go there. But that was one of his proudest moments. It's just like, hey, we lit up the White House. Let's get back to does the K fighter say this? That's too real. Yeah, it's crazy. We lived through this thing, and I don't think we accepted what we was looking at. I would just be honest, right? So that's that article. Now, I want to transition to one of our beloved freedom fighters who, while this stuff is being imposed on everybody, was taking a stand. Now, we showed Mr. Kenyatta, and he was like, nah, I don't know about that, fam. We good on that. But we got to bring up our Baba, who was as definitive as anyone can be. Mr. Obama and the UN, the entire international community, was pressing Africa. And this is when they openly just like, y'all gonna accept this. Wow. Again, many people stood up and laws were being passed. And there was one man who said, you know what? I'm just going to go to the UN and I'm just going to tell them straight up. And then that's that. Right? So we're going to bring up our Baba. And because we're going to look, if if he can reflect on one of his proudest days, we can reflect on one of our proudest days. So we'll check out Obama real quick. Listen to what he had to say when he went to the UN.
I reject attempts to prescribe new rights that are contrary to our values, norms, traditions, and beliefs. We are not gays. Cooperation and respect for each other will advance the cause of human rights worldwide. Confrontation, vilification, and double standards will not. Mr. President, self-determination and independence are intrinsic and fundamental rights that should be enjoyed by all peoples everywhere without distinction. We are deeply concerned by the continued denial of this basic right to the Sahrawi people. We urge the United Nations to expeditiously finalize what must be done to conclude the decolonization of the Western Sahara.
This is the type of real black leadership that we're missing in large part right now. He didn't equivocate. He didn't mess around. He didn't try to soft shoe it. Our Baba Robert Mugabe, who's now in the ancestral realm, said strictly to the point, we are not gay. Right? It's straight up like that. We're not gay. And you trying to make us gay is disrespectful. And we believe we have the right and self-determination and the right to protect our culture and to live as we see fit as a sovereign people. And I just wanted to say that. Now, on to other business matters at hand. So I just wanted to show that because I just wanted to remind us that there was a time when we did have some leadership that was standing tall and talking straight while this imposition is taking place. Now, of course, we have other leadership now that is doing the opposite. I'm not going to sit here and talk about hey, come on, brother, you got it. Come on, brother, you got it, though. Were they black? You just tell me they wasn't black. That's all I want. Yeah. So I just wanted to show that because I just wanted to show us resisting. Now, what's going on in the modern context? It says U.S. threatens to pull aid to Ghana over anti-LGBTQ bill. So we covered East Africa. Now in the modern context, we're in West Africa. It says the U.S. warned Thursday that it could restrict foreign aid to Ghana if the African country's president signs into law a new bill criminalizing identifying with the rainbow. Ghana's parliament on Wednesday passed legislation that will impose up to 3 years in prison for identifying with the rainbow and a 5-year jail term for forming and funding rainbow groups. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. If you can be given a 5-year term for forming and funding rainbow groups, here's the part we don't think about. Who are the people that are forming, not black good? Who are the people that are funding these groups? Many times they're NGOs, non-governmental organizations with non-African people who are funding it. They may have an African person in an African country as the head, just like they have many times will have a black person here as the head of some group. But the money generally comes from someone else. So if you have a law which says that the person funding such groups can be jailed, you are in essence threatening to jail Europeans most of the time, right? That's the part I think gets overlooked. Now it says if this bill becomes law, it will certainly have a chilling effect on foreign investment and tourism in Ghana. State Department spokesperson Matt Miller said Thursday. Should the bill pass, it would potentially have ramifications on U.S. assistance. Now I'm gonna stop right here. Just be completely honest. If Ghanaians can tell me that there's going to be less rainbow activity and fewer Urugu in Ghana, I'm going to find some money to go to Ghana. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to ask y'all for some money to go to Ghana. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scrounge up some of my money. I'm going to ask y'all for some of y'all money. That's what I'm going to do. So Ghana, I'm going to be honest, there's a set of black people like myself and others who, if that's what you're going to do, we're going to support you with our money. That's what we're going to do. I don't want y'all to our Ghanaian brothers and sisters, I don't want y'all to think that y'all just going to be out there swinging in the breeze and ain't going to be no help and ain't nobody going to say nothing. No, sir. We with you. We with you. We with Uganda. Everybody that's taking a stand. We with you. Right? I just wanted to let that be known, because people, you take a stand, and sometimes you take a stand and you look around, you're the only one standing. You feel like, oh, I must be in the wrong. No, sir, you're in the right. You're taking the right position. You're taking the right fight. You're doing the thing for your basic survival. And if you weren't in the right, they wouldn't be going so hard to impose this stuff on you. I just wanted to make that clear. Says the U.S. provided more than $211 million in assistance to Ghana in fiscal year 2022, with the money supporting a variety of sectors like agriculture and efforts to combat malaria and AIDS. It's unclear how much money will be halted in response to the bill. Now let's stop right here. This is one thing that irritates me. I don't understand why we think we need help with agriculture from people when we started agriculture in a land that is mineral rich and you can grow virtually anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the agriculture sector in Africa isn't more thriving, and why more African countries are not self-sustaining and with their, it's obvious mismanagement. But the details of it, I do not know. But one thing I do know, Thomas Sankara said it, and maybe that's why Thomas Sankara is not here with us anymore. Like, if you can't feed yourself, man, you can't do nothing. And most African countries, like if you in the Sahel where, the desert is encroaching, okay, that's a different matter. Uganda, you should be able to feed yourself. Uganda, some of these other places, you should be able to feed yourself. There's enough arable land in Africa to feed everybody on Earth. So that's a situation that people on the continent, you got to get that straight. I don't know what's going on, but you got to get that straight. So, I digress. I know that's not primarily what we're talking about, but it is what we're talking about, because we're talking about black survival in reality. It says many African countries criminalize rainbow activity, but recently legislatures have moved to strengthen such laws across the continent. Sam George, a Ghanaian parliamentarian who sponsored the legislation, wrote online, "It took 3 years to pass the bill." So my man has been, he just been a stalwart. He just going strong. He like, look, we're going to pass this bill, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, this stuff is getting out of hand. We got to do something. We're going to pass this bill. But what about, no, sir, we're going to pass this bill? But don't you think, no, sir, we're going to pass this bill? But I'm not sure now, no, sir, we're going to pass this bill. But maybe we should change, and no, sir, we're going to pass this bill. You know what I'm saying? So I respect people that just like, what the young people say, he's standing on business with this bill. So shout out to Sam George. Says Ghana's tradition of tolerance, peace, and respect for human rights is a source of stability and prosperity that has long served as a model for countries around the globe, Miller said, who is from the United States. What was he again? Oh, State Department spokesperson. Is talking too fast right now. This legislation is inconsistent with these values and will, if it becomes law, undermine a laudable tradition. Let's translate what he said into a language that we can easily understand. Ghana has been bowing down and bending over to the West for years, and them standing up like men will make us have to punish them, because we've been used to them bowing down for too long, and this standing up thing we're not going to allow. That's what Mr. Miller said. Okay, all right. Now we translated that. Says Uganda's law includes the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality. And aggravated homosexuality, I don't even know what that is, but they make it sound extra horrible. That's crazy. Life imprisonment for the offense of homosexuality. It criminalizes the promotion of homosexuality with 20 years in prison. So Uganda's not playing. They're not playing around at all. Amnesty International called on Akufo-Addo to not sign this legislation. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what's gonna happen. Addo's kind of soft. The people seem to be standing strong. Addo is just, man. I'm just telling the people, man, you gotta do what you gotta do to ensure your survival. As to the people of Uganda, that's what I'm saying. We got any Ghanaian brothers and sisters listening now or will listen in the future. What I'm telling you is you have to do whatever is necessary for the survival of your people. You have to do whatever is necessary for the survival of your people. You have to do whatever is necessary for the survival of your people. And I would say that, to paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, there are times when the people in charge have to be removed for the benefit of the people. There are times where people in charge have to be removed for the benefit of masses of the people. That's all I'm gonna say, right? So, Sister Neff says some so-called leaders are just corrupt. Can't argue with that part. I mean, the Congressional Black Caucus is as corrupt as can get, so we know all about that. So we mentioned Mr. George. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna play this clip of Mr. George where he is just so we can see him and just see it, this brother, William brother, strong, thorough, a real dude. So we're gonna we'll play this clip and check out what he had to say in the Ghanaian parliament.
Like it is attributed to Robert Mugabe, if we put two men in a room and give them 12 months to produce as an offspring, they cannot produce an offspring. And so, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to stand here. But let me use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to celebrate Mr. Speaker, who has been a stalwart and a bastion for this bill. But for Mr. Speaker, this bill would most likely have been killed. Mr. Speaker has stood his ground and ensured that this bill has come this far. And I want to use this opportunity with the support of my colleague members of parliament, since we all support this bill, to serve notice to the Western powers that we have taken judicial notice of what they have done to the Speaker of Uganda. After Uganda passed the bill, the sanctions on the Speaker of Uganda's parliament and on the sponsors of those bills, we will serve notice as well that if they replicate same with our Speaker and members of parliament, we will also take action against their business interest in our country, because they serve in this country and make money from here and take back home. They cannot hold us to ransom. And like has been asked on this floor, Mr. Speaker, why is it that the American Secretary of State has not sanctioned the Secretary of Defense? Because June was declared Pride Month and they had transgender parades. The US Secretary of Defense blocked and stopped a transgender parade on a US Air Force base because he said the US Pentagon, which is their defense headquarters, would not support such activity. Governor DeSantis has passed legislation against open transgender parades in Florida. Why have they not taken on their own citizens? In fact, in 2022 alone, there were 433 actions in state house of legislatures across the United States banning and clamping down on homosexuality. The Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, just last week passed a landmark judgment enforcing the rights of American citizens to refuse to offer services to people on the basis of their faith and because they were LGBTQ. Mr. Speaker, it shows you that even America has realized the error of their judgment and are walking back their steps. Italy in June designated June also as Family Protection Month to counter the Pride Month. Maybe that's something Ghana should begin to consider, that we make June a family values month to celebrate the Ghanaian family value. But Mr. Speaker, in wrapping up, Mr. Speaker, I just want to state that the dangers of homosexuality are grave. Persons who are homosexuals or transgenders, per statistics from the CDC, have at least 6 times higher rates of obesity, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts than heterosexual people. This has consequences for our health bill as a country and public health, and we cannot turn a blind eye to this. I want to thank every member of this House who has supported this journey so far, especially the committee as well, in bringing us this far. Mr. Speaker, this bill will be passed to the glory of God. Mr. Speaker, this bill that they say the God we serve is a God of love. Yes, he's a God of love, but he's a God of justice. He gives forgiveness. He gives mercy to those who repent of their sins. He doesn't give mercy to those who stay in their sins. We are willing and ready to offer support to anyone who wants support. Mr. Speaker, the Old Testament and the New Testament are replete with Bible scripture. I cannot end without quoting the Bible. Mr. Speaker, the Bible is clear. In Leviticus 18:22, it says, "Do not practice homosexuality. Having sex with another man as with a woman, it is a detestable sin." And for those who say that we are living under dispensation of grace, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 6:9-10, "Don't you realize that those who do wrong will not inherit the kingdom of God? Don't fool yourself. Those who indulge in sexual sin, or who worship idols, or commit adultery, or are male prostitutes, or practice homosexuality, or are thieves or greedy people or drunkards, or abusive or cheat people, none of this will inherit the kingdom of God." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
All right. So shout out to that brother in the Ghanaian Parliament, Mr. George, Sam George. You know, he is so interesting, man. I never thought I'd see the day where, you know, people quoting Bible verses. I'm like, yeah, that's right, tell them. But yeah, I mean, whatever works, you know. You got to get biblical out here, then that's cool. You know, the brother stood strong. Sister K fighter, she giving him a black hand. That's right. Give Brother George a black hand for standing strong. He's like, enough is enough. Now, real quick, I asked a question about. No, hold up. I asked a question about who is I just want to look at this from a global perspective real quick, and then we'll be out of here. So I'm going to be out of here on time. Partnership for Global LGBTI Equality, PGLE. You say, brother, what are you talking about? This is from who? The World Economic Forum. Now, if you have been following me for the last few years, you know all about the WEF. I've been told you about the WEF. I've told you about some of their plans and programs, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, I forgot about. Anyway, the practice for pandemics and things like that. Event 201. All those things, right? But this is from their website. It says accelerating LGBTI equality through the power of business leadership. Partnership for Global LGBTI, or PGLE. Man, it's just way too many. It's just way too many letters. Is a coalition of organizations committed to leveraging their individual and collective advocacy to accelerate rainbow equality and inclusion in the workplace and broader communities in which they operate. The partnership is supported by the Office of United Nations High Commissioner for what? Human Rights, and is operated in collaboration with the World Economic Forum. Now let's look at some of the people here that says they're their partners, right? Says Accenture, Best Buy, Boston Consulting Group, Cisco, Coca-Cola, Deloitte, Edelman, Deutsche Bank. They're with what? Who? GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian, whatever. Human Rights Campaign, Human Rights Watch. What did we say about human rights? International Lesbian, Gay, Bi, Trans, Intersex Association. I've never even heard of that. Johnson & Johnson, the Kerry Group, MasterCard, Microsoft, Novartis, the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, Outright Action International, Pepsi Cola, Salesforce, Scotiabank. Look, to say that this is an international, quote unquote, conspiracy, quote unquote, to push the agenda sounds crazy until you actually just sit here and look at it. Right? All these people are with this program, and this is from the World Economic Forum. I thought I had the video, but I do not have the video. But if you go to my shorts page, I have a video from the World Economic Forum where a woman is speaking about utilizing the media push forward the agenda for rainbow. Like, you go to my page, it's on my shorts page. It's a minute long, it's short. I didn't see the longer video from that year, but I actually saw a longer video from this year with that same person saying the same thing. It just so happened that I found the video late and I couldn't edit it and put it in here, but I may do a separate video with that. My point is that there is an international force who has united to push this agenda. The only way for the Black world to resist it is as an international force to resist the push for this agenda. Right? Because you're talking about some very high places. World Economic Forum basically makes global policy and sends it out to many of the leaders of minimally the Western world. Right? These are just facts. This is what they do. I call them the administrative wing of the one world government. Right? But I just wanted to show that because they're not, nobody's hiding anything no more. Everything's out and open. This fight is out where everyone can see it, and you're going to either accept it or not. And the thing about it is, they said accelerating this in this leadership. I just want to see if there's anything else here that I really want to get into. And again, it says the UN LGBTQ so-called standards gap analysis too. So we're looking at the UN and World Economic Forum. But here's something I want to look at here. That this is something that they've been doing, and it's been confusing, especially Europeans. There's been a lot of discussion in Hollywood. This is a holistic and integrated approach to diversity, equality, inclusion, and social justice. Right? If you listen to a lot of Europeans, they really hate this DEI. But they think of it as it conflates in their mind Black people and homophilia, right? So instead of them actually analyzing who's this coming from, they just see it and they're like, oh, I hate this DEI, which I understand that because we call it DIE, right? Not DEI. But they don't look at who it's coming from. But who is this? This is the World Economic Forum. No Black people run their World Economic Forum. We didn't come up, we didn't invent it. Klaus Schwab isn't Black. When you see this diversity and inclusion stuff, do you see any straight men included? No. When you look at Star Wars, and y'all complain about this DEI stuff in Star Wars, there's almost no straight black men in it. And when it is, you see what they did to John Boyega. Had him out here looking like a buffoon. To the point that he said, I don't even want to do it anymore. They trying to pay him to come back. When y'all complain about the stuff on Disney, Miss Marvel and all that stuff, no, there's no black men writing this stuff or doing this stuff. I just wanted to say that. I just, they have conflated gay and black to the point where it inflames the racism in white people to see the homophilia everywhere. Even though there was a time when they wasn't really against the homophilia, but it's become so overwhelming that the men, especially, not everybody, the men are like, okay, this is just out of hand. Like I'm seeing, it's real weird. I've seen some, some manosphere dudes talking about, okay, it's just too much. There's too much rainbow stuff happening. I just can't. I can't take it no more. Like that's literally how they're acting. And then, when I saw it, I was just like, this is interesting because they're psychologically, their ideology is rainbow oriented in that it is anti-woman, right? It's Sister Naja. Yeah, you sent me that, and you sent me that, and I'm just like, what in the world? But that goes to show that, right, that thing is that's a thing. So, wow, bro, you say you had a 2-hour course on DI. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to say that. I want to set the record straight that there are straight black men who do not like this stuff as much as y'all don't like this stuff. And I think maybe Tuesday I may do a show on either Tuesday or Thursday. I don't know what day. A show on the cultural assault on American masculinity. Because now it's so obvious that you can talk about it. And, even though we've been talking about it, but we just been talking about it from a context of black people, like, for years and years and years. But now other people are kind of like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? Or, openly complaining. Maybe they were complaining where we couldn't hear them, right? So that's going to be a show later this week. Also, I know I'm behind with the posts and the videos. So we are going to have a return of DC's Radical Thoughts. I'm going to try to set those up to release in the mornings. Y'all know that's from stream of consciousness audio, pretty much audio only ideas that I have in different things that I think about. I'm going to start doing those again. I think 13 or 14, and then I stopped. We're going back to that. Yeah, brother. I know 30 pieces of content look complete, but look, realistically, only has to have 4 or 5 days where we do 2 or 3 in a row and we be back on track. Yeah, we, haven't done any videos, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I need y'all to do this before we go. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and get your people to. We need more subscribers. I get more motivated when more people watch the brand. Just a fact. That's just how it works, right? Sister Najee saw a European female say men 1826 aren't ready for war because they are feminized. Yeah, you can't argue with that. Like they tested the testosterone in men. That's part of the course. Oh, I am glad you said that. also one day this week. So I'm not sure that's gonna be Tuesday or Thursday, but we're gonna have 3 shows this week. We're gonna talk about that bill that just passed, and we gotta go back and talk about the ongoing war in Europe because it's being ramped up, and that's why that bill was just passed to it passed the House to reissue the draft. But that's the thought behind it. So I'll probably do a radical report on it and then do a whole show dealing with what's going on in Europe. Very Black Friday on the Wake Up Radio. Glad to see you in the building. So that's what we're going to do this week. And again, for those who are not following me on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at DC Radical _ONE. And don't forget to check out OTW Tubes, the Black-owned platform. I'm on there at DC Radical 1. And if you can spare a few dollars, you can give me a Cashapp, $DC Radical 1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And don't forget, on the 29th, Brother Denny having his event. I will be recording it. I hope to live stream it. But considering what the content will consist of, it's probably going to be recorded and then sent out or set up for a private viewing. The only other thing I can do is I can set it up to be viewed privately to bypass YouTube or anything like that. But if I do that, then I have to change some settings and pay some more money for my streaming service. So I'm just letting y'all know that's how it works. You want to see it live? I'm probably gonna need a few more ducats in the Cashapp to be able to do that. If you want to see it laid, then that's no problem. So I'm working on how we're going to do that. But I'm definitely recording it. And I'm definitely going to try to make sure my sound is correct this time. Unlike last time in Baltimore. My apologies for that again. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Thank you all for sharing, subscribing. I forgot that I am streaming on Instagram. Shout out to everybody that's checking me out on Instagram. I actually have to get a setup so I can see the comments and things like that on Instagram and see how that's working. Because I really haven't focused on that. But I got to get that done as well. So with that, I say a BB for ODA and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A BB for ODA and straight black pride.